welcome back to The Big Picture. My guest is the ever-lovely psychic, Karyn Reece, and we're talking about all things psychic and coronavirus and today, what's happening, and in the near future. Now, talk about coronavirus. We talked about how people should keep a positive attitude and how this is going to pass shortly. You've evolved the things that you do. You're doing a lot of consultations via Zoom, is it?
I've done some, but I usually prefer telephone, just because I like to have the phone right up to my ear. So I'll engage with clients. Every month I do it anyways. I have clients all over the world, so people always laugh. Yeah, people always ask that. I want to see you in person. I'm like, you don't really need to see me in person. My clients won't come from Italy to see me, especially now, you know, or wherever they're from, you know. So a lot of times I just do phone readings, and there's no difference because it's a radio wave. It's the frequency. That's all it is.
So there's no difference between being next to someone or just talking to them.
Oh yeah, it's like with radio. If somebody calls up, you know, immediately you can just pick up the energy. It's a radio wave.
That's interesting.
Yeah, AM dial, FM dial.
And you started a podcast recently, didn't you?
I did. In fact, you can find out more information. It's on my website, KarynReece.com, KarynReece, because nobody ever spells my name correct. But the podcast, it's a lively, engaging podcast. I do it with Alexa. And we have all sorts of personalities, you know, right across, a lot of inspiring people, you know, tips, you know, things about how you can improve your life. It's engaging, it's fun, it's fast, it's furious. We have a good time. It
sounds very upbeat.
It is, yeah. We try to get people that can actually impact your life in a positive way.
And how often do you do that?
We do it once a week. We throw it out onto the net so people can pick that up there. And and then we do our daily, you know, medium mindfulness. And again, people can find out about our blog there.
Now explain what medium mindfulness is.
That's our daily blog, and we write about things that can be uplifting, that can take you from, you know, maybe a low place to a high place, or give you some ideas on how to approach your day. You know, we can't always, it's not always how we react, it's how we respond that actually makes a big difference. You know, too often we're reactive, we're too emotional. So we try to look for ways to maybe manage your emotions with that blog and teach you how to respond better, as well as give you other just things to think about.
Now, you know, that's interesting because everyday life, people deal with things that, you know, I mean, we all have problems and there's enough misery to go around. You add the coronavirus and all the doom and gloom that we're hearing about every day, constantly. And that just adds to the burden of getting by every day. Now, people have things to deal with, whether it's economic or family problems or romantic problems. There are constantly challenges that you deal with in life. And it always seems to me that the challenges come along much more frequently and much more easily than the good stuff. I mean, the good stuff, you know, unfortunately, it doesn't come along as easily in life as the burden. How do you teach people to keep that positive attitude when they're dealing with these emotional traumas and these problems that they come at them seemingly from every different direction?
Well, I try to look at life in my own personal life. Life's a game. It's like a chess game. So if you try to manage your emotions, you know, you come here, you're here to learn, experience, and, you know, if you get too emotional, you're not going to focus on what you're trying to achieve. So learning to manage it. And when you have a negative emotion, a lot of times I'll tell people, visualize it as maybe, you know, something that's like a little, you know, kooky character. And that's your emotional state. And take that emotional state of negativity and put it into like a trash can. And tell yourself psychologically, I can always go back and get that negative state or that being if I want to, but for the time being, I'm going to take that and put it in a trash can, and I'm going to focus on something else. And ask yourself, you know, is this going to get you closer to where you're going to be? If you're in this negative moment, is that going to get you where you need to be? Sooner or later, you're going to have to make a shift. Better that you make it sooner than later, because you're just wasting time, you know, being negative and not looking for a solution, because negative energy is going to block you from really looking at things. And sometimes negativity pushes us. You know, you may lose a job one day, but then you may find that, you know, something else opens up and you're just at the right place at the right time.
When I was doing news, you know, I did a story, suggested a series of stories actually on what drives people, and fear is one of the motivating factors for the way people react to almost every situation, especially problems. I mean, fear is how people basically, that's what you think about. Now, you may not admit that it's fear. You may say that well, it's just my mood is bad here, or I have this problem that I have to deal with. But when you break it down, the problem amounts to fear. How am I going to deal with this? What happens if, I'm afraid if I lose my job, I won't be able to do this. What happens if I can't pay my bills? I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my house, or I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my car, or I'm afraid that my family is going to break up. There's a fear there that is the underlying motivation for the bad vibes, the bad energy. And dealing with fear was always the key. If you could get over that emotion, that's a key right there.
Yep, or if you can use it as an impetus to make you, if you're fearful enough, you're going to go out and get a second job, or if you're fearful enough of whatever loss that you think you're going to sustain, it's definitely something that you can also use to your advantage.
Well, if you answer the questions, in other words, it's the unknown mostly that we're fearful of. The unknown. It's like, what happens if, and then you're afraid, if I can't do this, what's going to happen to me? And so the intellectual solution is to figure out all the possibilities and plan for the worst and say, okay, even at the worst, I still can get through this, and this is how I'll deal with it. And if you take away the worst possibility, you're taking away the fear.
Totally, and I totally agree with the fear. And I tell people, if you really don't know how to get from point A to point B, do an upside down triangle, put your goal at the top, and then just do it in reverse. So if you want to be a president, you have to be a congressman, you have to be, law, just to make it simple. And I always tell people, what goes up comes down, and what is down eventually goes back up. It's just working through that. But fear is the number one reason for.
Now, changing direction a little bit, this program is going to be seen on Friday and on Monday. We normally do your show on a Friday and a Monday. And, Sarah is on the show with you.
Love Sarah, yes.
What's she been up to lately?
I think she's been cleaning, and she's a clean freak.
Got to be pretty clean by now.
It's probably spotless, yeah.
Okay, well, we're anxious to get back to the show. We're going to be changing the show around in a little bit.
Yes.
Doing some new things. It's going to be very exciting.
We've got exciting characters lined up. We have people right across, some very well-known national figures that we'll be bringing on, as we've done in the past, but some very interesting things. So can't wait for, the season to kick back up, again, and start looking at our clients.
You're going to keep your fan base notified and informed as to what's going to be going on.
Oh yeah, they can always check back on the website when we're back up and running. We have our ticket sales and all of the above. And
well, hopefully we're going to be moving back to the normal pretty soon.
Yeah, we're getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Can't fear life,
It's amazing how loyal people are to this aspect of life. There's a fascination with the spirituality, with contact with relatives and friends who have passed. I mean, that's a fascinating thing, and people, there's in my experience, there's a couple of different attitudes towards it. There's the people who really firmly believe that their loved ones are still out there and they want to communicate with them. And then there's people who say, no, that's a bunch of baloney, but it would really be nice if it, and I hope it would be true, but they don't want to admit that they hope it would be true.
Oh yeah, they get that left brain thing going, which I can appreciate. I have a background in business, so I get that left brain. But get somebody on their deathbed that's a skeptic, boy, they change their tune really fast.
Well, there's so many things that you can't account for that, they're reality. I mean, you can't argue against them. The deja vu moments, I'm thinking of somebody and then the phone rings and they're there. Okay, and or a text comes through. I'm thinking of somebody, and like 10 seconds later, that text is there. Hey, I was thinking about you. Those things happen all the time, and how can you explain those away?
Through our normal lens, you can't, but through the world that I obviously live in, we know, and I know what where that connection is. It's a radio wave again, when you're dealing with that. But from a logical standpoint, you're never going to be able to really explain it. But then again, it's like a microwave too. or a radio wave. You can see, but you know that it exists, so.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of things. In science, there's a concept called entanglement. Entanglement, the scientists can't explain it. There's two separate physical entities, that can be light years away. And when something happens to one entity, it's simultaneously it happens to the other. And this is a physical thing that scientists have proven, okay? And they can't explain it because it happens faster than the speed of light. Two things happen at the same time, and nothing in the universe is supposed to be able to do that. So scientists know that it's happening, they don't know why and they don't know how, okay? So the bottom line is there's a lot of things out there that we don't know how it works.
Funny you should say that, because when you look at a lot of the great minds like Einstein and some of the other great minds, they've known about this type of energy. Tesla, though they couldn't really put it out for public consumption, but we know in my business that they have had, hands into the other side. And being the father of twins too, that's got to be fascinating because, twins are very tied in psychically. They can be on opposite sides of the world and,
They'll feel each other. They'll know what's going on. Absolutely.
It's fascinating. Yeah, there's been studies.
Everybody out there, you watching this now, remember, I've heard this from many people who are knowledgeable on such matters. What the common belief is that everybody is born with abilities that go beyond what normal everyday life teaches you. And as you grow older and as you integrate into the normal world and you do normal things, you deal with business and you deal with taking out the garbage and you deal with schoolwork, and everything teaches you to forget about those other things that you can't see, those abilities that just are not relevant according to the real world that you have to deal with. Paying the bills, taking out the garbage, all the things that are practical, we unlearn our abilities that are there at birth.
Well, isn't it funny, like good business people get that gut instinct, or just in general, when you get that gut instinct, if you don't pay attention to it, usually, you find out that you made a mistake by not listening to it. And that is part of your psychic or intuition, whatever you want to call it. So, it's...
And you know what? That's why everybody is so fascinated with this and with Karyn and with her show. And that's why we're going to continue to do this on WBBZ. Again, we're having fun and time has gone fast. And the show has gone fast. So I want to thank Karyn for being my guest. And that's it for The Big Picture this time. I want to thank you for watching The Big Picture. I want to thank you very, very much for watching WBBZ. We can't exist without you, our viewers, and that means everything to us. And we're here to serve the community. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on The Big Picture.